Hey, how are you doing? This is Dave Grandison with two incredible guests that we have here, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about pop-ups and e-commerce and how to build a business using pop-ups and e-commerce. One of the things that I think that we're going to talk a lot about is our guest here who has a company called Quero. So why don't we start off by letting our guests and our panelists tell you a little bit about who they are.
Hi, I'm Sarah Mullins. I'm chairperson of the accessory design department at FIT, and David and I work together building sneaker essentials, the curriculum, the activities, and I'm happy to be here.
Thanks so much. And Randy, tell us a little bit about who you are and your business.
Yeah, my name is Randy Shuken. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Quero Shoes. We make handmade shoes for men and women made in Spain with materials from Italy, France, Spain, whatever. I'm not a fashion person or an entrepreneur by training. Most of my time is spent in the corporate realm, and then I switched to startups in the last 5 years. And so I've been learning quite a bit and how to apply concepts from another business to the e-commerce, the fashion, and the click and mortar world.
That's a really cool term, click and mortar. What does that mean?
It means, online and brick,
Okay.
the combination. Because, online, Warby Parker was 100% online initially. And they've obviously have lots of retail. Bonobos was the same thing. They started out online, and they set up showrooms where you could just see the product. And now they have full stores, although they still fulfill from e-commerce. And so it's kind of a mix. In fact, that's one of the things. I don't want to get ahead on the pop-up idea, but one of the problems with retail is keeping stock. And so if you don't have to keep the stock, it gives you the flexibility to do different things because you tell people they're going to send it in 2 days. You don't have to have as big a footprint and space. No pun intended on the footprint.
I think that was one of the main reasons that we wanted to talk to you, because you're very much embedded in tech, and you're using these tech models, like the lean startup, as ways to launch a shoe company, which isn't always the way it's done. So I love the fact that you're kind of this hybrid entrepreneur who's approaching it like that. So why don't we talk a little bit about what is your business model, and let's talk about, are you all practicing, like lean startup model, or tell me your permutation of that?
Yeah, it's different versions of the lean startup book and all the other things about how you get things going, how you do low cost trials and all those things. There's all kinds of aspects to starting up a business, whether it's a software only or services or a physical product business, which is very different, a physical product business in that sense. And that's the part I'm learning. And so we've incorporated a lot of, I mentor other people, other entrepreneurs, and I work on the boards of other companies, small, startups, fintech and ed tech. And so doing it myself is obviously a little different. And we do a lot of things where you have to come up with a hypothesis about what something's going to work, and then you have to test it in the market and then immediately use that feedback to change your direction. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs realize that it's about having a hypothesis, testing it, and then changing direction many, many, many times.
Well, my question is, in footwear, you've entered into a difficult product because footwear is not a one size fits all. Obviously, it's not like making a wallet or a t-shirt where maybe you have 3 sizes. So how can you be so nimble yet with a product that requires lasts and sizes and tooling and all these components to the product that take a lot of time and money to invest in to make?
Yeah, that's exactly true. It's a complicated product. The sizing, it's not small, medium, large.
Right.
It's not handbags.
Right.
Right. It fits on your arm. It's shoes, and it can be a challenge. And one of the things that we actually started with, we started entirely as a made-to-order company. Mm-hmm. That was our origin, and that was the whole idea: is that you could design your shoe. You could pick the basic shoe, and then you could take any of 35 different kinds of leather, suedes, and other materials, and you could select broguing, heels, different soles, etc. And we still offer that service, but that's how we started. And so we started by doing the unit of 1 and making that work economically.
Variations,
which is harder than doing 1,000 or 10,000 in a factory and China or Bangladesh,
Right.
which we don't do. So, so that allowed us to become, just when we started, to become more nimble, because we were able to make it work by making it shoe by shoe, And so when in those cases, somebody would come in, try a shoe, design it, and then in 3 to 4 weeks they would get their shoe. So that made it a little easier in terms of inventory and working capital, right?
Right.
But doing that allows us to now do smaller runs and still make them economic. So I can do a run of 50 or 70 or 100 or 20 of a certain shoe, and I can still do that profitably. Whereas most companies, unless they're making 1,000,
right,
it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think the brilliance in your model is that right now the market is turning toward personalization. You guys dug in early and have mastered that, and now you're using e-commerce as a way to grow and scale your model in a different way. Like I was blown away by your site in terms of how you allow people to select. Can you talk us through a little bit about how someone customizes one of the models of shoes? I don't know what I should call them, a model of a shoe, but one of your shoe styles, silhouettes.
Well, I'll say that we've moved from our origins, which is exactly what I was saying, is that you have to see what the market wants. And most people, I mean, I use an analogy of you go to Cheesecake Factory, which I don't go to very often, but I used to with my kids or whatever, and they have 3,000 options and you can't pick. There's too many options. You get frozen by all the things you can do. And so when a lot of times when people have all these leathers and suedes and things, they get frozen and they can't pick. And so we started to see what designs were made the most. And then that's how we kind of started to choose the ready to wear that we carry. And a lot of people want you to show them the shoe and the outfit that looks great. Most people don't want to pick. And there was a company, and I just missed the name. It was out of Australia. You probably know it. That did made-to-order shoes, and I knew some of the founders there. And they did the Nordstrom's, and they got a lot of fun.
Yeah, actually.
We're both going to forget, but we'll remember in a second. But in any case, I was talking to them early. They were much ahead of us. They got a lot of funding. They got 20 million from Nordstrom's, and then they had a hard time. They realized that market was limited. The people that wanted to design their own shoes was a very limited niche, and they started to offer less options and pivot, but it was too late. And in fact, they even set up design studios in all the Nordstroms. So we have moved away. That's all the preamble to say that we have moved away from doing that, and we're mostly doing ready to wear or smaller batches, rather than having the full design your own shoe. In fact, we took that off our website because we moved, and this is about platforms. We moved from a homegrown website to a Shopify site.
We're gonna talk about
a lot of trade-offs in doing that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in a little bit later. But here's a question regarding that.
Yeah.
Now, so the lean startup model is, again, creating a hypothesis, testing that hypothesis, and pivoting quickly. So that's an example of pivoting. Did you crowdsource the feedback on that? Did you use data and analytics to inform the decision? And is that what led you to kind of moving into doing sneakers? Because sneakers is a fairly recent addition to your lineup.
Yeah, I mean, we have eyes, we can see, we know what we wear. So we said, people are wearing more, all the places that I worked at where I used to wear a suit, everybody's wearing jeans and nice sneakers. And so, and we started to do versions of our own shoes, because we have the formal shoes, but that were more informal, and those did well. And so what we realized is that if you take the spectrum of shoes, if you buy an Oxford or a dress shoe, that's for a purpose, like business or wedding or something. And then there's I want to buy a pair of sneakers like a Nike. Well, we're not going to compete with Nike. But if you want something in the middle, we found that most of our customers are wanting to look for new things in their closet. That's something in the middle. It's sort of on the edge of, it's not just a sneaker, it's not so casual that it's a real sneaker, and it's not so formal that they look like they're wearing their dad's or mom's shoes, whatever. So we've kind of navigated to the middle, and that's why, in fact, we're launching today, officially, the sneakers for women.
Great.
Men's did really well. In fact, after having 19, 25, 23 styles, the sneaker in the last year is our top selling product. So that also pretty much tells you the story.
Right.
And then any product that is differentiated, that has something slightly different. I mean, I'm sure you know a lot about shoes, and we started using the Bologna construction, which is not that used. in the shoe industry, and it creates a very flexible shoe that has no break-in.
Right.
And and we made it super comfortable inside, like a driver's shoe, but it's a real shoe. And that one also has sold really well because you have to do something that's unique, that stands out, and that, you know, makes a statement, because if you're undifferentiated, particularly in the e-commerce world, there's just no chance.
Right.
Nobody's going to pay attention to you on a Facebook ad and anywhere.
So what's this we're looking at right now? Is this the latest?
This is one of the versions. There's a couple of versions that are slightly silver, slightly gold. I have another one here that's a slightly different version. That's a more silver version.
Okay.
I'm sure you can take a look at it. And it's
the more
inspired
silver
by using a lot of metallics, some really beautiful Italian metallic leathers.
There. Yeah.
And we got some, and we made them super, super comfy. You know, taking off on a lot of the sneakers that are popular for women. And it's a little fun, but it's also classic. And then normally it comes with two different kinds of laces. These are the more fun laces, and then they have sort of more traditional. So you can wear it either way. And it's a combination of working with different materials, with suedes and different textures and different colors. And so in reality,
those are fun.
Yeah, that's more of a silver one. There's not a lot of difference, we realize, between the shoes we design, but they all have like a little bit different signature. Like people look and they go, oh, I'm more of a silver person, or I'm more of a gold person.
Sure.
So it just depends.
That's great. I mean, it's a great looking shoe. Let me know when you make that men's model. I want to get that.
Got that in his hand. No, it's different.
No, I didn't wear sneakers today because every time I get sneakers of our sneakers, because I'm a popular size, somehow somebody needs my sneaker, and literally customers have bought it off. I said, it's my sneaker, you know, it's worn. I don't care.
Let's look at the men's too.
I want to see the third pair, but these are a pair of boots.
That's a nice boot. How about that sneaker?
Well, let's take a look at that sneaker model. That's actually, I have that model. I love it. That's how I found out about you all.
This one is nice. Kind of, we wanted to give it, I mean, a sense that it's kind of a little bit more, you know, handcrafting, you know, the look of the shoe. They're all done, the leather on these all comes in a neutral, and then they're hand dyed. So every shoe has a patina.
Really beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. And we do this in brown, white, which is very popular for the summer, and in this blue, which it looks different. You can see it differently with the light.
I love the leather. I guess it's not a shank, but it's a leather piece of detailing that to me just really makes it a very, very interesting shoe. And again, the one I have, I got it because I wanted to wear it with suits and wanted to wear it with more business attire. And so for me, it fit that space. And so that's one of the reasons I really liked it, because it was a dress shoe type of feel.
Right, but like a little hand tack details and stuff.
Yeah.
This is more, this is a jogger style, they call it. I guess the rounded toe is the Stan Smith style, they call it. And we have a design for the spring for men, which is, you know, Stan Smith style. But this one in, you know, these three colors has done really well. And people like, you know, so you have to, you know, this is getting into the business. We had like the full line of great shoes, you know, loafers, Oxfords, boots, etc. But so does everybody else. And we knew that our shoes were the similar or better quality than shoes costing twice as much. And we knew that there's a lot of brands. Can I talk trash about brands?
You can give us your critique on any brand you like.
We have customers coming in, I'll say the customers, because they say all the time, and they say, I used to buy Cole Haan. And now they look good out of the box, and then in 4 months, they're falling apart. I used to buy Allen Edmonds, which I was admiring 4 or 5 years ago as a brand, and then they've gotten in external financing, which has driven them to push down the costs, and they've gone offshore, and the quality of the materials. And customers come in all the time and say, I don't like my Allen Edmonds anymore. I've had them for 30 years. They're not making good shoes anymore. So we decided to focus really on the quality. But people, you know, to get to people, enough people that they appreciate that the quality is that much better, because it kind of, you know, with Amazon, everything's become commoditized. It's very hard. It's a hard thing. And that's another reason, segue, why pop-ups make a difference, because people put the shoe on. It fits really well. And they experience the brand. You get a marketing benefit, they get experience, and their comfort in buying the second or third or fourth pair is much higher. And we have customers that have bought up to 17, 18 pairs. We've got a crazy Italian who lives in in the Emirates and works at a hotel who buy shoes from us like 3 or 4 a year.
Wow.
And so we've got real fans. So once they try them, and we put all our reviews online, which we're very open about reviews. Some of them are not great. Some of them are usually customer service reviews, but we put them all up, and their reviews are great, and that's what we want to do. So it's how do you get the word out? How do you get people to try? It's just like in the packaged goods business, try your product.
Right.
And so if you have an undifferentiated looking product, unless somebody's tried it or read an article or done something, it's very hard for them to be convinced to convert from a brand they know, the Crest, to go to something else.
How do you then track and use data and analytics in your e-commerce business? Because what you're telling me there is all customer, that's the best part of e-commerce, is that you can track and you can look at how products are doing. Like how are these sneakers doing, and how do you evolve your business using analytics, your e-commerce business, that is, using analytics?
Well, there's a lot of ways. I mean, I actually built a business for a company I work for, MasterCard. I was running strategy for the company, went public. I helped them build a business monetizing MasterCard's data, huge data warehouse, to give better predictive information about marketing and merchants and who's buying where and what, because it's much more important than just how much you make, but what you like. What are your patterns of purchase? So we looked at, we had a hypothesis of who bought our shoes. We thought, between 25 and 40, this demographic, et cetera. And, we were wrong a lot. And that's where you get the data back and you tie it to different segments. You start to see who responds to ads. You start to refine your messaging, what the creative is, and then the audience you're going after. So you look at different audiences, different economic levels, but also different kinds of, people and lifestyles. So is it urban? Is it rural? All those things change. And most of our original hypotheses turned out to be either wrong or completely off or partially off. So our customers skew older than we thought. And a lot of them are people that want to convert from, other brands. There's just a lot of factors we thought, because you also pick, when you do marketing, you pick brands that you think you're competing with.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you realize that your competitive set is different.
Right.
Is different. So there's a whole lot of things where you get
all
data
projects and sneaker essentials.
Exactly.
Identify your customer profile.
What you're saying there is you're doing profiles, and that's one of the things we have our students doing.
Right.
It's creating a profile, looking at psychographics, looking at demographics, figuring out who that customer is. So I love that.
Right, but then the beauty of it is that you can get that data, and then you can change that. And what you're saying is
you keep modifying. You have like 11 campaigns running at with different audiences,
right,
and different creatives, and you do ABC testing of like, okay, how does it look with a woman, with a man and a woman, with this?
Right.
You try all these things as combinations, and then when it hits, then you pour your campaigns and you focus on those that are working.
How are you choosing your marketing destinations, and where are you advertising? Well, you must have tested that too.
Yeah, I mean, the strongest, still, if you get the audience right, Facebook is still, and Instagram are still pretty strong. We've done Google Shopping, we've done some in-video stuff, which is more for branding, the in-video stuff. We're trying some new things as well. There's the, I forgot what they call it, but there's where you come up and you put in certain sites that allow you to do an advertisement that looks like it's a blog post. I forgot what the name of it is, but it's a new development. They say this is sponsored content. They say that, but then it shows you the content there, but it looks like it's something that site sponsored. I mean, that they liked or they wrote about.
Right.
And so we're trying out different things, but the truth is in e-commerce that it's very competitive. And the companies, because of privacy, because of all kinds of reasons, have reduced their targeting accuracy. And there's tons and tons of brands with very low cost that can launch. So there's lots of brands out there. I mean, when we started, there were almost no brands like us. Now there's, I would count like 12 or 15 that I can count off the top of my head. And so we measure everything really on CPAs.
And what is that?
Cost per acquisition. How much does it cost? Because I don't care what clicks. I don't care if somebody has 80,000 Instagram followers. I care, does that then drive somebody to actually click and buy and convert? And so if I have a cost per acquisition of $150 or $200 or $300. You know, that's how I measure the effectiveness of the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on your product, you have to then calculate lifetime value.
Right.
Because then that determines how much you can invest to get that additional customer. So everything we do, whether it's online, whether it's PR, whether it's pop-ups or anything else, we always measure our CPAs. Mm-hmm. Because then you say, okay, which is better? You know, I like doing this. It doesn't matter. Which is better? Which is more effective? And so you have to really follow the data and see what performs the best, and then go there. Because online, I mean, I'm telling you, I read Business of Fashion, all this stuff. Started reading it recently, but it's you know, it confirms what I knew, which is that it's a challenging environment for small companies. Brands who are known are able to then push that brand name out there. They don't have to convince somebody to try a brand, whether it's Hugo Boss or something else.
Right.
But if you're a new brand, you have to break through in some way. So you have to do something different. And so that's a lot tougher. So we've actually, this is a different question, but I'll just give you a quick answer, and then you can go where you want, David. We've actually shifted a little more towards the PR influencer side to try to build the brand more instead of just selling. Right. Do that. And I know this from being in marketing. I was a big company with budgets, you know, $100 million budgets. Don't have $100 million budgets now, doing sponsorships and all kinds of things. And I knew that in essence, marketing mix, having a balance of things helps you. It helps you push it forward. If you just push one on one lever, it's very hard for you to get what you need. Right. So I'm eating my dog food now.
Well, you know, we've got a lot of influencers in our sneaker group, so you know, definitely, I'm gonna show you the group and see if you can, you know, speak to some of the people. A lot of them are probably actually online right now, taking a look at what we're doing. So what they want to know is, how do they set up an e-commerce site, and can you recommend how they should approach picking whether they're going to use, you know, Big Cartel or Shopify? You know, what are your thoughts on how somebody should get started?
Yeah, and I'm looking for any critiques you have on the quality or anything.
Are they my size? No, I like.
These are the first out of the chute. Actually. Yeah. I mean, we just came out. We're launching it today. We've got all the event coming. Yeah,
you all are the first to see the new women's sneaker that they're launching. Right. But you know, I mean, I don't know. Like, how did you switch to big Shopify? You said why?
We started with WordPress.
Okay.
Because WordPress is easy to build all the content on, and then WooCommerce works with Word. What we found was very quickly, and then we plugged in our shoe personalizer, customizer to that, which we developed on our own. What we found was it's more flexible to be able to plug in different things, but it's not. It's kind of like Microsoft versus Apple. It's not a walled garden. So as you start adding on more plugins and things start to get like spaghetti in the back of too many wires connected, and eventually our site started like slowing down, and we started getting like it would go quick, and then it would go 20 seconds to get from one screen to another, which is death in e-commerce. And I had 4 different developers come in and try to hack through it and clean up the spaghetti, and they just couldn't.
Right.
So I think that WooCommerce and WordPress, unless you have somebody who's one single designer working on it all the time and tests everything extensively before they add it on, it can be as you start to scale, and I'm not talking about a lot of scale, I'm talking about some scale, it starts to break, and we started adding in all these plugins and things, and this is an odyssey, because then we went to custom build with somebody, but unfortunately the custom build, it was a great beginning of the project, and then the guy's firm fell apart, and then he had custom code, and he was building us, because we thought, okay, we've got all these custom requirements, like David loves our custom design shoes. We'll build this amazing environment, and we'll spend a bunch of money, and we started to do this incredible thing, and then everything had to be perfect. He couldn't finish it. Right. And he lost staff, and then it was like some people wrote code that wasn't good. He had to rewrite it. It became a bespoke project, and then I thought, this is going to be a nightmare to manage and to support. Right. Documentation, 0. Right. We're going to be taking blood, giving blood for the rest of our life for this guy. And in the Canary Islands, which good or bad, it's still on Spanish, but not on. Well, I spoke English, Spanish, and Hindi, so that worked. But so that we cut the cord, and we decided we went to Shopify. Okay. And we had looked at them 3 or 4 years ago, and at that time I would say that they weren't that good. They were really not. It was really very limited. You really had a lot of trade-offs if you went to Shopify 3 or 4 years ago. And today, it's really an amazing platform, not because of the ease of building the site and all the people that are around it, but because they have created a community that's designed for e-commerce. It's maximized for e-commerce. Everything that works in there, like their wall garden, works and functions properly. They test things, all the apps, all the things that work together. Payments, you can use their payments through Stripe, which is a great company, but then they also provide you with real-time analysis of every transaction, all the fraud reasons, and 99 different elements behind that. When I worked in the payments business, and I thought, this is really rich information. It helps you decide. They offer analytics, so I don't even look at Google Analytics anymore, because you offer you tons of analytics on what's going on. And then, just as an example, they offer me working capital.
Wow.
Because once they get to know your volume, then they start to offer you working capital at almost either zero cost or so low I couldn't believe it. But what I realized was they're supporting merchants who they think have the potential to, grow on their platform and make them more money on another revenue stream. And so they're doing that, and they're also building fulfillment.
Wow.
They have a robotic fulfillment center that they're about to launch, and we talked to them about being a beta, but we decided not to change over. But they've realized that they can solve all these different things for people who are mostly online. And we're digitally vertically integrated customer direct. That's what I understand was what they call what we do. So we're vertically integrated, we do everything, and we're going direct to customer. That's a unique customer set. You want to have the right messages in your boxes. You want to have the package look a certain way when they gets to their house, because they don't experience your brand at Bloomingdale's. They experience their brand when the box comes and they open it up. So for those reasons, I'm a fan of Shopify, and I think that they do a good job. I'm sure others do a good job, but if you want something that really packages it all together, makes it easy. So you don't have to be an expert in all these different things. And there's so many developers who work on the Shopify platform. And they don't charge an arm and a leg, because it's modular. That's worked very well. So that was a long answer for a short question.
I think that was really great. Important. One of the things that you said is something that I love WordPress, and I use WordPress. But the key is, if you're starting a online e-commerce site, you need to keep it simple. You need to use 1 or 2 plugins, maybe one that's running your ad platform, one that's doing your like Stripe, that is allowing you to take in your money, and then one other that is doing your organization and running the site. But you cannot keep adding and adding and adding different types of plugins, or exactly what you said will happen. I'm very experienced with WordPress on that, and that's what I would say for anybody. If you're starting your business, keep it simple. Pick your plugins, use ones that are trusted, use ones that a lot of people have given thumbs up or given the top amount of stars to. Don't go beyond a small set of plugins. And if you move to something like Shopify, you have to be sure that it's trusted. You need gentlemen like this who are running massive amounts of volume across Shopify. Again, they're the big cartels, and there's some of the other e-commerce engines out there. But yeah, I think that what I would love our students to know is, hey, pick something that's tried and true, pick something that's trusted, pick something that someone who's giving you some good advice, and they're saying they use it. Because if you know somebody who's using it, you can ask that person questions. You can find out, you can find out from their things that they're learning, their pitfalls, and so ask people, talk to people, go online, find out other friends who are on there and see what they recommend. We're not endorsing Shopify, but what we're saying is do your research before
I would go, definitely go with asking a number of people who they've used and what are the pros and cons. Because I can tell you pros and cons of every single platform. If somebody says it's all great, then they're not being very honest.
That's the key. That's the key. So, were you?
No, I think it's interesting to also pick, if you're using other platforms like a PLM, a project life management platform that is going to work with your e-commerce as well. I don't know. I've been talking to company out in Colorado. And I think, you know, that's like kind of another part to it, depending on the size. Obviously, if you're small, you probably don't have to buy into a PLM, but if you're getting bigger, you know, you want to make sure those things integrate.
What is a PLM, just for someone who's never heard the term?
So product lifestyle management, you're really, it's using software to manage your product from start to finish, from the design concept to delivery. And again, collecting data along the way and integrating your e-commerce. And I don't know, do you all use anything like that? I mean, it's not a necessary, but in a bigger scale. And obviously,
when I used them when I worked at MasterCard, we had a lot of, and it also for the life cycle, when you see products that are in the end of their life cycle and deciding when you're going to start harvesting them versus growing them. So you stop investing in a product, obviously, when it's gotten to the point where the sales are decreasing, but you can keep it because it may still make you money. So it's all those kinds of things, which when you have a big company, it's very hard to manage.
Communication for, you know, especially if you're a global company. So like if I'm using it as a designer in the US and I'm communicating, I'm putting in information for my team in China because I'm not going to necessarily be awake when they're accessing, you know, so it's like a file sharing.
And also you can launch a product in different markets, which have different requirements. And to manage the
you can have a fabric library, component library, you have all your costing in there. I mean, it's very full, robust, but I'll just throw it out there. Backbone is this company that is in Colorado, and they have some really interesting brands, Kith, Allbirds, some, you know, sneaker brands. And, we had them come to FIT and do a demo, and it's an interesting company because they have some small companies and some really big ones, and it's visually very appealing for somebody like me who uses, who's in design and likes visuals and uses Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. There's like real easy uploads and stuff like that. So it was interesting talking to them and hearing how it's like that they've created a company, I feel like the way Shopify has, that's really using both visually and obviously economically friendly ways to appeal to their customer.
Right, and it's holistic, so it puts everything together. So it makes it simplifies. It's complex, but it simplifies it.
But it simplifies it, right?
And that's important for our students to really understand that, you know, at a large scale, you're using a PLM that's tying together your e-commerce, your ads, your production, your supply chain.
Right.
And at a small level, you're using an e-commerce tool like Shopify that's going to tie together your customer analytics, going to tie together your ads and help you to create campaigns, as you were speaking of.
But to your point, Sarah, I mean, I think that you need to have some kind of methodology more for the product development side that you're talking about too, then even in a small company, make sure you're checking all the boxes.
Right.
Because we've made mistakes by not doing that. And then when we do it right, I ask everybody, document it all. Well, we know how to do it. Make a checklist. Let's go through it. Do a checklist of how you launch a pop-up. What you do.
Oh,
the marketing.
What's on that list?
That's so important. It's so important.
But you know, you know, and you do it. We've done maybe 16 pop-ups or something like that. And you get better at it, and you can do it intuitively. But you know, having that list, it helps you to organize yourself, not forget things, do them ahead of time, and then you can delegate.
That is exactly what we need now. Let's talk about how do you launch a pop-up, and why is it helpful to think about a pop-up as a part of your e-commerce strategy?
Well, I mean, it's an e-commerce strategy, but it's just starting a company, which is mostly, you know, virtual, sells through virtual, but you're using that platform as an engine to sell anywhere, because we use the same site to sell in any pop-up or even through any store. So it's really sort of technology and then how you get it out there. But if you're all online, it's just that to establish a new brand, which is a lot of your people, is very hard. You think it's easy, you hear the success stories, but there's one success story and 99 failures because it's just hard to get through the noise. I mean, we don't do a lot of advertising at Christmas because there's too much out there. And people just, they lose it because if you're not spending a lot of money like Bloomberg. Oh, did I talk about
the New York audience.
Bloomberg, you don't get through. So
30 million spin last week alone.
Yeah, so it's very, you have to think. It's almost like guerrilla warfare. You have to think about what's really going to get you to pop out and get through. And, you know, when you're doing your site, and you were asking about the site, one other important thing is UX, UI, how you set up the site, because it's like it's a virtual store. How you walk through, what's the experience? What do you see first? How do you click? Where does it take you to? How do you see information, explore things? That's, people have to realize that that's why you hire other people to do it.
How does it work on this device?
Yeah, is it adaptive, and how does it look? Because a lot of people look at it at work, or they look at it on the train or whatever. And then secondly, when you do a physical store, it's kind of odd because you've been doing it online. And then you realize, okay, now it's a physical manifestation. How do you do this so that it's attractive and that people want to come in and try your product? Because really, the pop-up, you're paying, from a CPA discussion, cost per acquisition, you're paying for you're getting the traffic. You pay for it on Google and Facebook, etc. You're getting the traffic from real estate. So your location. We've been in 38th, which is how David found us, at the Refinery Hotel, and used their space 4 or 5 times. We've been in Nolita. We've been in Boston and LA and, you know, Venice Beach and different places. So we've been in different places, but you're buying the traffic of that neighborhood or the people that walk by, that demographic, and you're trying to guess where you're going to get in the right place, where everything comes together. And so that's really, it's all about, you know, that CPA. And so I'm getting traffic through people. Now we're at 52nd and Madison, at 45 Madison, right near 52nd. It's a shopping area. We've never done a prime shopping area like that before. And it's a different, and then in that case, we get more traffic that comes naturally because people go there to shop. Whereas if I'm on the Refinery Hotel, I get the hotel guests, but it's not a shopping area. And it's not where a ton of people are. The big buildings are not there. You know, we get a lot of people who live in the neighborhood around there, but that's what you're buying. So you have to really think through when you look at a pop-up space. It's real estate. You have to think about,
and what about the timing? Like, there was just something on Saturday, was Madison Madness on Madison or something, where there's a whole thing on Saturday that was on Madison Avenue. I don't know if you knew that, but
no, I didn't.
I happened to be going to a pop-up there over the weekend, and a different pop-up, and
well, you're gonna come to see ours.
So I guess so. I know I should. But I mean, I think you can think about that too. Like, well, especially because it's the holidays, and so there's, you know, you can think about when you are where you are, obviously, right? I mean, like, you don't want to.
The place where you get, you know, the most traffic you can imagine, because I've talked to vendors there, and you talk to people, ask them what the merchants, what their experience is. I've made mistakes by not asking people before picking a location. Because then they'll tell you, is it good? Is it bad? It looks good, but they say, no, everybody's buying cappuccinos. They're not shopping.
Right.
But like in the Grand Central Market, you know, right as you go through the terminal, there are all these little kiosks. And I go and talk to people and say, so how's it going? First of all, you have to have a product that's designed for that environment.
Size,
For a small footprint, you know, kind of an impulse purchase. Trying on shoes is really not the thing to do in a holiday market.
Or while you're commuting to the train.
But you get incredible amount of traffic. And this one guy said, well, we took all the small items we have, like leather goods and things, we brought them in here, and we're doing more than we're doing in a physical location and so on in sales. And it's paying a lot, but we're just making enough money to cover it. It's all, so you're, you know, in the pop-up, you're buying traffic. And if you don't buy it by the location, then you have to generate it. And generating it can be through PR, through getting mentioned in BuzzFeed, Cool Hunting, you know, all these different, or any sneaker publications, and getting, you know, making it, you can make it a super exclusive, you know, event, and then have people sign up. You can do things to create anticipation. You can go to local businesses and give out cards and say, hey, refer people in here. We go to concierges, the hotel. And say, hey, come in. If people mention your name and we sell 5, you get a free pair. You know, and so you have to, there's different ways. Either you buy the traffic, and then those people, hopefully, if they see your store, will come in, or you get a location that works, and then you spend the money, the budget, on generating traffic. But everything's basically about how much you're gonna, you know, be able to spend to acquire a customer.
You know, that, I mean, I think that what you're saying, and I'm showing some pictures while we're talking of some of your previous pop-ups, and what you're saying is, you know, you're keeping it very light. You're not creating a heavily I love the branding, and it's all that very rustic feel, but it's not like you have to completely rebuild the interior of the space when you're creating that pop-up. You're creating something where you're coming in and the product is the star, and you can see all the various options that you have. And that's incredible.
This is great, but this is from an earlier vintage. Mm-hmm. And like you say, we always adjust. And now we have all the same, like light wood tables.
Okay.
It's even more simplified. We did that when we went to LA and went to Avid Kinney, and we simplified the whole look.
Okay.
And so not only is it more uniform, so you don't look at the furniture, you look at the product.
Right.
But also it's easier to set up and assemble and disassemble.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you need to do. Because if you're there, we've done 2 weeks.
I was just going to ask you what your time duration is.
Yeah, we did a week. We've done 2 weeks. We did one that was 6 months, and we had to go through January, February, and early March with almost no sales.
Right.
It's a very slow period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And because we never run a store per se, and we think that really, for us, we think that the optimal time. Minimum time is a month.
Okay.
Because you need to, build up interest. You need to set it up. You need to hire people, which is one of the most challenging things, to hire good people who are going to be ambassadors of your brand, because you're not just selling, you're also selling the brand.
Right.
And then you have to sort of get people to come by, and some people come by and see it and say, I'll come back later. But if you're not there long enough, because we get people to come to refineries still and ask management, like, where's that shoe company?
So give everybody a card. Is that what it is? Make sure they walk out with the website.
Everybody that checks into the hotel when we were there, they got a card and a 15% off, whatever, to come in. It's guerrilla marketing. You got to do everything you can, but you have to think about, okay, if my budget per month is X amount, how much am I going to spend on rent? How much am I going to spend on personnel? How much am I going to spend on furnishings and giving things? I'm going to do events like happy hours. We're having wine and cheese tonight. You guys are both invited if you want to come by.
Okay. I guess I know where I'm going to get my happy hour tonight.
Wine and my Kego.
But again, that's marketing. And that's, I learned about your company through a pop-up. Right. There was a pop-up at the Refinery Hotel. I'm going by there and I'm like, that's the dopest sneaker that I've seen. I want that. I need that for dressing up, going to meetings. And so I came back by, I met you, and we, again, I think that's how it developed.
But you also realize that even if you're online all the time, you don't talk to your customers. You see the data.
Right.
The data's great.
But you're not making that connection.
But you're not saying, they say, oh, I like this, but do you do this in a so-and-so?
Right.
Or you do this in suede? Or the sole's a little bit this or that. Mm-hmm. You get so much feedback.
Right.
In fact, we have a number of sneaker styles, which we don't expect to make a large quantity of all of them. Mm-hmm. We're going to see how people respond.
Right.
And it's not my taste or a designer's taste. It's what people tell us they like.
I love
and
it.
then we'll start to hone in, and then we'll say, okay, now let's start making 500 of this one or whatever.
Right.
Well, our students in sneaker school would love to give you their feedback on some sneaker styles. So please pass them by us, and we'll share them with them and get their feedback.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't. You have so many plans.
I know.
With little time, but we're going to start doing, which we do ourselves, is putting prototypes up on Instagram and Facebook, and then getting people to vote. Mm-hmm. On different designs, or give us comments back or in the comment section, because now you can't do likes. But because really you're trying to figure out, you're trying to guess what people like. Right. But wouldn't it be nice if you could do this in 3 colors and then say, okay, which one would you prefer? And everybody, 60% say, I want the blue.
It's all about the data.
Right.
Then we go to the blue. But also people feel empowered.
Yeah.
They feel empowered, like they have a voice in what you actually make.
Right.
And so I think that makes a difference too. Engaging people in your brand. That's the ultimate thing, is that people like your brand. They want to know about it. They want to know who you are. And they also get to meet, like we're not in the store all the time, but we do spend time there. And if you're a founder and then somebody meets you, I've met tons of interesting people besides you, David, but who are big in the fashion industry and financing and all kinds of things just through being in the store. Yeah. And they say, wow, this is great. It's inspiring. When are you going to open around so we can invest? Yeah, but thank you very much for your interest.
Give me your card.
Today, please buy a pair.
Yeah, right.
Hey, you know, I think that's really what it's about. Sometimes we think that everything is about online, but actually speaking to people and getting that anecdotal evidence to go along with the data, that's really where you're able to, I think, make the smartest decisions, because you're hearing what someone's giving you in terms of real feedback, and then you're backing it up with data, and then you're making your decision. So I think that's very, very important. You know, one of the things that we've done as we're in our course was we provided assignment to our students where we're asking them to create a retail space. And I've heard from students, you know, yeah, I want to create a retail space, but I don't have the money for a retail space. And that's the reason I brought you in first, because I think that you're providing an option that someone can get the investment money to have a pop-up up for 2 months and give it a shot and hear the data.
Or it's also product research.
Yes.
You could do a week at an Artisan Fleas,
Right.
and put your product out there and see how people react.
Right.
And it's a very low investment.
Yeah, or you could do like a store in store. You know, it doesn't have to be your own blank space too.
Right.
I mean, if you could find a partnership or another brand or another, you know, designer who has a space already that you think is parallel.
Well, we paired with a brand that we invited in
Mm-hmm.
that does custom shirting and now pants to come in, so that we can share the space. We didn't compete,
Right.
and that works. But Artisan Fleas that I mentioned is actually it's a
Yeah.
group of different small merchants,
Right.
right, and
But
which is a lower cost.
Sure.
It's easy,
Yeah.
but you can if you find literally if you find a store that wants to carry it. Like
Right.
we're talking to stores where we live in Connecticut and saying, hey, you interested in the sneaker, putting it in and see how it does.
Right.
And a lot of them, it's something new to show their customers,
Right.
to pull them in. So they're all feeling if anybody hasn't heard it yet, retail is tough.
Right.
Well, and Artisan Fleas is all over the city now, so you can pick your spot. I mean, you can be in Williamsburg if you think that's your, you know, Brooklyn if that's where you think your customer is, or you can be in Chelsea Market. You know, if you
Market's
think
a lot of tourists.
Right.
Yeah, Soho's tourists and locals,
Right.
and Williamsburg's more locals, because
Right.
we've done 2 of those too. And they did okay, but you know, and that's another thing. It's like we started with lots of SKUs, and now if we just sell sneakers and sell men's and women's sneakers in 2 different styles, I can do that in a small footprint.
Place, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you gotta be flexible and look for different options.
Yeah. So what I've been doing is I've been showing a few of our assignments where we've challenged students to create a retail space. That again, this could be a pop-up or it could be a long-term space, but they created a mood board for it. They concepted their logos. They decided the types of styling that they wanted in it. They gave us a concept pitch, and in this case, this is Denzel from the sneaker group and from our Sneaker Essentials family, and he's given us a concept. He wants to have a anime style sneaker boutique that's going to have figurines of various types of anime characters. He's going to have the sneaker colorways in some cases that match these characters. Many times you have sneaker collabs, for various anime properties. And he wants to create a fun space. Here's his layout and his floor plan that he created for us based on that. And I don't know. Give me your thoughts on it. He's given the assignment was create a layout, tell us the part of the city that you're going to be in, pick an exact location, give us some styling cues in terms of how you think you want this place to build out. So yeah, I'd love your feedback for Denzel Pitt's project. Any thoughts?
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, the entrance, I like the idea that he's coming with a concept for the entrance of saying at last and doing something that catches people's attention right away.
Right.
So they see it's not just a store they're going to walk by.
Right.
And I'm assuming whether it's opaque or not, that either you can't see in and you want to look in.
Right.
Or you can see a little bit and then because you want to drive somebody to walk in the store.
Yeah, yeah. He's got 2 TV screens. You see TV1, TV2 playing anime films, music videos.
Right.
So he's trying to grab your attention off the street, catch that walk by traffic, which you say is important. Again, the reason I found out about you was walking by and being like, whoa,
right.
cool.
I gotta pull you away from your phone.
Right.
From looking at your phone. I'm being
really
honest.
true. I'm like the worst.
Right. So like he's got that. I love that you flagged that as important. You got to catch people's attention to get them to walk into your store. And then he's got, again, various monitors, TV4, TV.
He's got 6 TVs.
6 TVs.
Invest in some monitors.
He's got big time monitors. He's got a bench. He's giving you books and magazines. He wants people to come and chill and hang out in the space. And so he's giving them a huge bench to sit down on. And then on each side, he's giving you your hoodies and clothing on one side, and your cut and sew, your outerwear on the other side, and then a sneaker wall at the back. So the sneakerheads they're going to see what they want and go all the way to the back.
Well, I think getting people to come in and hang out, the most important thing in any of these retail things is that you create traffic, it brings traffic. If they see 3 people in a store, people go in. If they see nobody, they're less likely, because they're going to be the focus of attention. They're, if they just want to walk in and they're listening to their AirPods, they want to be left alone. So I think that if you can do that, I know that, a space called Showfields in the city. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked to them when they first launched their concept, and it's a good marketing platform. It wasn't right for us at the time, but they have a coffee shop area right at the opening, which generates kind of a heat. There's a place in like different levels to sit, on wood, so it kind of makes it inviting just to hang out. And so people see people already in there.
I love it.
And even though they're not shopping, then it generates that buzz. You were trying to create an environment. We've had like events at night where we had music on and things, and we had private events, and then suddenly hundreds of people want to come in and see what's going on. So an empty store is the worst thing to have.
So our next student, actually, that ties right into our next person. This is Galen Quinton. And if I pronounced your name wrong, Galen, I apologize. But she's created a boutique that, again, is giving you food and tastings, high-end luxury. She's displaying her sneakers in a very, very high-end way. And she's giving you, let's take a look at her layout and her floor plan. In this one, she's giving you a much more minimal space, but again, it does have the seating area that you flagged as being important. We've got, again, clothing displays, fitting rooms. Again, this to me is a great pop-up because it's not crazy sized. It's very minimal, but what are your thoughts? Anything jumping out at you? Again, for some reason, the Philly students are representing.
I know.
Both of these are in Philly. So Philly's going to have some dope stores.
Look out, Yellowbrick.
Yeah, look out, Exactly. That's and Lapstone and Hammer as well. But thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, the presentation and with the logo is like really cohesive to me in terms of the luxury. The branding looks luxurious, your Spade with a B in there looks nice. And then in terms of the store, it seems pretty straightforward. I think I can see from the first page, the aesthetic of it is going to be much fancier than necessarily, you can get from the floor plan. Looks like the fittings and stuff, be pretty high end.
Yeah.
I think another thing to realize is that we've done this before is keep it easy for people to see in. Mm-hmm. Don't put too much in the window that blocks. You want to let them know what you have and make it easy, but let them be able to look in to see what else is there.
That's true.
Because we did have a several-week period where we had another brand in, and they put like mannequins and figures that kind of blocked people's view into the store. So people didn't walk in.
I see.
Right.
And you try to make it like easy for them to see what else is there.
Right.
Men's shoes, women's shoes. Is it worth my time to walk in?
Yeah, and South Street, I know South Street. I love South Street, and your point is valid. You're looking and you want to see what's in there because there's so many other stores on South Street.
Right.
It's jam packed and the street's full of people. So the store has to have some dope shoes in the back. And then you're looking, okay, yeah, let me go in. So I completely agree with you. I think the stores that are on South Street that obscure their front entrance are definitely not the stores that I end up walking into.
Sometimes they put too much product there thinking it's just product that's going to bring you in. You surely have to show product. You have to show it in a clean way where they can see it, but then also see what else is in the store.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And our last project is Shoppin. And this gentleman wants to make a shop, and he's on exactly what you were saying in terms of eating and shopping. So he's making it look like a supermarket, and he's displaying both product and food. It's very, very cool. It looks like edgy food brands, but also mixing in clothing, and done a very detailed layout. Again, you can see some of the differences in the detail that people are putting into the layouts. And I'm really impressed with the student work that we're getting. And they're going into great detail in what they're showing here. And it looks like you've got glass on the front two sides of this.
Yeah.
And then get a lot of seating areas. It looks like he's got maybe even a coffee area in there.
Yeah.
So basically he's doing what you said in terms of giving people somewhere to check.
High electric bill with all these units, I think, all over.
The refrigerator.
But at the same time, like this could you throw that in Grand Central and plug it in? Like have like what it's maybe these units could be mobile, and then you could really take it anywhere on the road.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. And maybe he's not actually cooling the sides that have clothing in them, so he's not paying for that extra.
But even the Hudson Yards, there's a brand, I don't know what it's called, but you walk by and it's just like a refrigerator, and you're swipe to get a bottle of it's an alcoholic beverage, but it's packaged in more of like a kombucha bottle. I can't think of what the brand is, but anyway, it's
checks your ID and
it's like DIY. Hudson Yards is a mix of all different things, but I think there's something to be said, to the person who might just want to help themselves and then check out.
That's the Amazon Go model,
right? Exactly.
In some of their shops,
exactly. Contactless shopping.
And I just talked to a payments company who's doing a self-checkout, whereas you put products in a store and then you scan it and you check out on your own and then walk out with the product. So it allows people to do it themselves, smaller footprint, and there's cost and training of personnel are a big issue too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different options. You just have to search, because even the big malls now, all the big mall companies we talk to, they're starting to do these kinds of things. I don't know if they're all successful, but it's a way to get your brand out there and try it at a very low cost.
Yeah. Well, I think that the ideas and the information that you're giving is just invaluable. And I think that we really appreciate you both taking the time to come out and to provide our students with some feedback. We're going to ask any last questions here, and it looks like we have. Do we have any questions, Chad, from our student group? So it looks like, can sneaker startups stand out in a market where brands like Nike, Adidas pour millions into making the best products? What do you think?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not easy, but you have to do things. I say guerrilla marketing. You've got to do things differently. You have to, if you're doing something really unique, you can organize an event around it and get, do collabs with other artists and others to do things that are unique. That, if an artist has a following and an Instagram, and then you have what you do, you combine that and you generate kind of a unique event. But you have to be creative, because you're not going to beat them by spending money. Online.
You can't match that.
You're just going to.
But I think in the product, or the product needs to be unique. I mean, I think Allbirds, is a good example of really taking a material and developing it in a way that hadn't been used before. And now they have retail stores, and I mean that's something they're not competing, because it's not the same customer,
they created their own
category. They created their own niche there. So there's that too. I don't think you can't compete direct to
we started doing very undifferentiated products that were great quality, but you couldn't tell online.
Yeah.
Right. And we're now going to differentiated designed products that people will appreciate.
Right.
So that if they see it online, they'll say, "Oh, that's cool."
Right.
And if they see it in person, they'll try it on and they'll say
that feels good.
Yeah, it fits
Right.
well, but you have to hit both. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's really hard to stand out.
Right.
Yeah, you have to differentiate your product from other products. And so I think ultimately, Yash saying, thanks for that question. It's differentiating yourself from the Nikes and the Adidas and creating something very unique, like Randy did, that's giving you something that they can't offer. And he's going handmade. He's going something that is very, very high end, something that's very luxurious, but at a reasonable cost. This is not $1,000 shoe. This is what price point are these?
Those are around $200.
So around $200.
This is designed to be a better quality. I'll say honestly, because I know how shoes are made. Golden Goose, right?
Right. Okay.
Golden Goose, run $500 to $800.
Right.
And so it's designed to have really nice materials and soft. And this is $195.
Okay.
And so it's a little more expensive than buying something cheap off Amazon, but it's number one, it's gonna last. The materials are great,
right,
and it's super comfortable. So we want to be known for quality and handmade always, and also we like to support workers that make a living wage, rather than supporting mass production for very low wages and unsafe conditions.
Right.
In many parts of the world.
Right. That's so important.
Which I know it's a lot for the industry, and that's how we get things that are so cheap at different markets. But I think it's important to think that through your value chain, where you're getting your products.
That's so important. So yeah, I mean, I think that I think we're at the end of our time, and I thank you all so much for coming out. I think we've gotten everybody's questions. If we missed you next time, there's one more. Do these platforms help small? I think
this one?
Oh, we've got another one. Hold on. We're going to get one more in. We don't want to miss anybody who's taking the time. So what is the best way to create customer loyalty when customers have virtually an infinite number of choices, whether it's footwear, clothes, physical stores or online? So how do you create customer loyalty? And that's Constantino's. Thank you.
Well, I think delivering the quality product that you brought up before, you can be loyal to a company, but if they change their production or maybe they've moved their factories, and then you see that the quality is decreasing, you're going to find a new customer. So I think maintaining your quality once you establish it, and for instance, that's what you've been talking about, is one way to do that. But what are you thinking?
Well, I think that people want to have a relationship to a brand, because you're saying that it's very anonymous. People switch through and they stream different programs and whatever. But if they have a relationship to their brand, if they know a little about the founders, they know a little about your company and what you're trying to do, that makes a big difference. And that takes time, and that takes work with different outlets, and it takes talking to people, it takes doing pop-ups. But I think that over time, if they feel like there's a link, because we're trying to do an initiative now with chefs, and trying to ally with City Harvest and get all these chefs to say, okay, we're going to create these great looking shoes, and then we're going to contribute a big portion to City Harvest, so that people throw food out, right?
Yeah.
And people get to eat. And so if you create a link to something like that, then people, Tom's did that, of course, with their shoes. They gave shoes out for every pair of shoes you buy. Bombas does that with socks. So it's not always charitable giving, but it's something where people feel like, I have a connection to this brand. If I had all things being equal,
right,
I'm going to take this. I'll pitch Enterprise. They may be around the same price as every other car company, rental company, or maybe a little more expensive, but their service is so much better, and I'm going to go with them every time.
Okay.
So you have to find a way to differentiate yourself, and then there's a lot of doing things that are, computer loyalty, like understanding he bought a pair of boots, and now I'm going to sell. We just launched a new boot. We haven't talked to him in 3 months, and doing this automated customer loyalty, you get all the insides to your e-commerce, which allows you to automatically engage with your customers. So one thing is to engage with people you don't know, and that's through brand and story and things like pop-ups. But then when you have customers, you're trying to harvest and build that relationship so they stay with you. And that's through engaging them often, sending them out emails or stories, not about products, but about hey, you know, our team went to, you know, to Spain, or went to go look at another factory, look at all these great restaurants we went to. Whatever it is, you know, creating something that ties people in. I know you gotta cut off soon. So I think there's different ways to look at
your
it.
gems are so important to our students. You know, you're what you're saying is very valuable. So, you know, again, we've got to thank you so much for coming out and speaking to the students. And, you know, again, we really appreciate your speaking to us a little bit about, you know, understanding e-commerce and telling us a little bit about pop-ups. And thank you so much for coming in and talking to the students that you've helped us build. And, you know, again, this is wonderful. Thanks so much. I know we ran a little bit over, but thanks everyone who came out. And I think we've answered all of your questions. So have a great rest of the day. And this will be available on as an archived video version shortly. So thanks a lot. Have a good afternoon.
Good afternoon.